Hi, I'm Jen. I'm from Albany, New York, and I'm a mom of two. Today I'm here to talk to you about isolation and my postpartum isolation experience because I think we all have one in one way, shape, or form. So, some of the things that caused me to feel isolated, and I'm looking at my notes here, were one, I didn't have family around. I live in Albany, but I don't have any local family. So when my son was born, my first child was born, I didn't have family right there. They were certainly coming and visiting, but they weren't right there, and that was hard. I also didn't have really a fully established community, although I had gone to college in Albany and my husband and I had lived there for several years. We just still didn't have a full friend group. And so that was hard. We didn't have the same community that we have now, 6 years, almost 7 years later. I also was young when I had my son. I was 27, which doesn't sound young. It's actually the average age of women having children in the United States. But in my particular peer group, I was one of the first of my friends to be having a child. So that was very isolating because I didn't have a lot of people who understood what I was going through or who were going through that with me. I also had a C-section, an unplanned C-section, delivering my son, and that really isolated me. I kind of isolated myself because of that, because I felt like no one understood my feelings and emotions around that. And I probably didn't open up about it as much as I should have because I still felt like, whether real or imagined, that there was judgment around that, judgment of me and my ability to birth my child naturally, so to speak. So there's a lot of different factors that can play into the reasons that we either truly are isolated just because of our location or because of kind of our place in life, or the ways that we sometimes isolate ourselves. So some of the things that I did to kind of overcome that isolation, and what I'll say is that it took time, right? It wasn't something that just happened overnight that I said, well, I'm not going to be isolated anymore. I'm going to fix it. It didn't happen that way. It took time. And so one of the things that I'll say is that we kept showing up. One of the places that we kept showing up to was our place of worship. And I can say now, we had these people who supported us then, but didn't really know us that well. And just showing up on a regular basis, we now have these amazing friends. So that when we had our daughter, 6 years after we had our son, we have these amazing friends. We had this crazy meal train. We had tons of people supporting us and helping us in a way that we didn't have. And that part of that was just showing up to a community of faith. So if you have that in your life or you've been searching for that, it might be a good time to reconnect with that, because they have been an amazing community for us in terms of battling isolation as parents. I also created community, right? I got together with one friend, Courtney, who's the co-founder of the Safety Nest with me. We got together and we started inviting other moms to get together and to have community and to have that group of people who support each other. So sometimes you have to create your own community. If you don't have it, you have to look for ways to create it yourself. That can be hard. Courtney's a little more outgoing than I am, so maybe you can attach yourself to a more outgoing person. Although people probably think of me as outgoing too. I'm a little quieter than people think I am. So maybe find someone who you can do that with, and all it takes is one other person, and then we've grown from there so much in terms of the people that we've connected with. Another thing that I had to do was that I had to change, in regard to my friends and even my family in some ways, or mine and my husband's family. We had to kind of change our expectations of them and their ability to understand where we were at. Because if you don't have kids, you don't understand. And that's just the way it is. And people will say that, and then, I don't mean to offend anybody by that, but if you don't have kids, you don't understand what it's like to be a parent. You just don't. It's not comparable to anything else. And so I also had to change my expectations for my friends and my expectations for myself. I remember my husband and I going to a cookout at a friend's house from college. And we brought out, it was just a small cookout, but we brought our son. And we were the only one with a child. And I left there feeling like we're not going to hang out with them anymore. And they did nothing wrong. and we did nothing wrong. But I realized, nope, we're just in different places in our lives right now, and that didn't feel good to me, to be hanging out with people who just don't get what I'm going through right now, don't really want my kid around, which is understandable. And at this stage of life, we're not going to hang out with them. That's just not going to work. And so changing my expectations and not being hurt by that, but just being realistic that was not a friendship for that time of life. And knowing that feels really important too. And then one other thing that I did, and for those of you who are local to me, to the Albany area, I would be happy to give you this resource. I did a birth healing session with a woman who is a doula, among other things. She's amazing. And that birth healing, particularly around my C-section and my emotions around that, was incredible for me. Just to look at why I was feeling the perceived judgment that I was feeling, why I was being so hard on myself about that experience, and how I could start to move through that. And again, that didn't happen. I didn't have the session and feel miraculously better overnight, but I did start to realize that I needed to process some of those feelings, and that helped a lot. And my advice for new moms are, well, one piece of advice that I always give to especially C-section mamas is that your body did not fail. If you did, if you had an unexpected C-section your first time, you are not a failure. And if you chose to have a second C-section for a second child, that is not a cop-out, and that is not the easy way out. It's really hard to recover from a C-section, and it's hard to deal with some of the things that come with that. And believe me, it's not the easy way out. And also just in general, I think you need to acknowledge that isolation is going to happen. Feeling isolated, feeling alone is going to happen. And I know it sounds easier said than done, but you need to reach out. It's easy for people to think that you're doing fine because they don't know any better and you're not telling them any differently. And so you don't have to pour your guts out to people, but you can say, I do need help. I do need just a visitor. I need someone to call me. I need a meal. I need someone to come clean my bathroom. And I work with caregivers in a different capacity in my professional life. And one of the biggest mistakes is that people don't make it known that they need help. And so it looks to everyone else like they're doing just fine. And I think new moms do that too. I know I did my first time. I didn't my second time. But let people know that you need help and reach out to people. Again, I know it's easier said than done, but I really encourage you and challenge you to do that because I think you'll see an amazing difference in yourself when you get some help with that. So we would love to hear from more women about their journey through, hopefully, isolation, overcoming that, and what they would say to new moms or other moms who are experiencing that. So thanks for watching, and we hope to hear and be able to post some other moms soon.